Life. How did it start on Earth? One of the many theories is that life started with hydrothermal vents made by underwater volcanoes. These volcanoes kick-started life by making warm, mineral-rich water. The oldest recorded fossils we have of life are in special rocks called stromatolites that were created by these prokaryotic bacteria around 3.7 billion years ago, called cyanobacteria. There is some evidence that is controversial amongst scientists, but does point to life existing 4.1 billion years ago by looking at zircon crystals, which are the only rock formations that predate 4 billion years. The controversy lies around the fact that this would have been during the Hadean Eon, where Earth was going through a constant bombardment of asteroids, volcanic eruptions, and lightning storms. There is evidence showing that water did exist in this time through these zircon crystals dating back to 4.4 billion years ago, which would have probably been needed for life to start. There are multiple theories on how the four organic molecules, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, formed and how from there life formed. I am mostly going to go over the one I believe the most for how life came into existence, as well as using multiple studies to hopefully support my thoughts on this. Please keep in mind I do not have a background in chemistry or biology. Science and learning about various subjects is only one of my hobbies. So moving on from there, the theory I will mostly be going over is known as the RNA world hypothesis. The basis of life, according to the theory, all starts with RNA or ribonucleic acid. RNA is what now carries the genetic information from DNA to be replicated. There are three different types of RNA that are used in a cell for reproduction: messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, and transfer RNA. Some things, like viruses, use RNA to transfer their genetic material to other beings instead of DNA. RNA was likely the first organic compound of the four major organic compounds needed for life. To form RNA, we need what is called a nucleotide bases and ribose sugar. Ribose sugar has two forms, a closed-ring form and a linear chain form. The closed-ring form of ribose is the one that is used to make up RNA. Then there are four nucleotide bases that make up RNA: adenine, cytosine, uracil, and guanine. One of these nucleotide bases combined with one of the ribose sugars creates a nucleotide. RNA is just a string of nucleotides. We aren't entirely sure how nucleotide bases and ribose could have formed on early Earth under such hostile conditions, but there are a few theories. One theory explored by Albert Eskenmoser, who through a series of chemical reactions created ribose with what was to believed to be at the time the atmosphere found on what is called prebiotic Earth. These were considered to be revolutionary and worth noting because he used chemical reactions to create a ribose backbone for nucleotides that didn't need phosphate. If this was how nucleotides were first created, it would imply that there was a simpler form of transferring genetic information that would predate RNA, but still acted the same as RNA in the sense of passing on genetic information. These chemical reactions made a bunch of different types of sugars. However, the ribose that was made yielded only about 1% of those sugars. Another theory is that more elusive compounds like ribose were made in outer space on comets. A team of scientists in 2016 were able to create ribose among many other sugars under similar conditions to when the solar system was first formed by taking simple ice samples, ammonia, and methanol, then irradiating with a UV light. Unfortunately, I can't go into more detail than that as I can't afford to pay for access to every study I read. Now, where were we? Yes, my personal opinion on the matter with no background in chemistry or astrobiology is that the building blocks came from outer space. We have now found every nucleobase for both RNA and DNA on asteroids, and even the ribose needed has been shown to be able to be created under conditions like being on a comet. This is supported by the fact that there is, albeit controversial, evidence that life could have formed as early as the Hadean Eon, which is named after Hades because it was literally hell on Earth. Evidence has shown that water was probably needed to form RNA, which could have come from the numerous comets and asteroids hitting us. These same comets could have potentially held ribose, and asteroids may have held the nucleobases. It is possible we may never truly know exactly how these building blocks formed or came into existence on Earth. Scientists already disagree on if RNA was the first organic compound, as there was an experiment in 1952 called the Spark experiment, where scientists used an electric current to mimic a lightning strike to see how it might affect what was believed to be the atmospheric gases during the Hadean era. The experiment yielded quite a few amino acids. However, as our models became more sophisticated, our previous assumptions on early Earth's atmospheric conditions has changed numerous times, and there is uncertainty on what the early atmosphere may have been composed of. The experiment was still a groundbreaking experiment for its time by showing that organic compounds could be formed from inorganic molecules. Personally, I like the theory the building blocks came from outer space, riding on asteroids and comets, mostly because we have now proven all the building blocks needed can be found on asteroids, and honestly, it just sounds cooler. That's not even to mention that if it were somehow true, it would have been predicted by, of course, a Greek philosopher in the 5th century BCE, who coined it as the term panspermia. I mean, come on, it's definitely cooler. But opinions and rants aside, moving on to how could life form from these building blocks, which again is still debated among scientists, but I am going to present the idea I like the most, which is also the theory I most agree with. If you want to know the other theories and possibilities, maybe subscribe and like the video, and maybe I will make a longer form video going over the different theories and how they might work, or multiple shorter form videos. Comment what you would prefer. So, RNA, the precursor of life, maybe. How do we go from RNA to living cells and eventually to where we are now? Well, to figure that out, we will have to look into ribozymes. RNA can fold in on itself and create more complex structures which give it some interesting properties. These little folded RNA strands can actually mimic enzymes in the way they break down and react with other things. Through this, scientists Michael P. Robertson and Gerald F. Joyce were able to, through directed evolution, create a highly efficient and self-replicating RNA enzyme. Some key things to note about this RNA enzyme is that it sustained exponential growth and would double its population every 5 minutes. In 37.5 hours, it could reach a population of 1 googol. Yes, that is 1 with 100 zeros following it in a little over a day and a half. This ribozyme can also cross-replicate with a partner ribozyme, resulting in their mutual exponential growth and allowing self-sustained Darwinian evolution, which is something needed for any theory on the start of life. Ribozymes like this could have been needed to start early life on Earth, and if they were the first organic molecules, how they would have been evolved into cells would still be a mystery. Since RNA can act as an enzyme needed for replication as well as its own tool for copying, it is my opinion that RNA was the first organic molecule. However, to form a more stable version of the cell, we would need all the organic molecules, so they would have had to have been created at some point either way. Cyanobacteria, which as I mentioned at the start of the video, are the oldest cells we have found fossilized. Didn't need oxygen to thrive, but still did have things in its cell like cytoplasm, which is a mixture of other organic molecules. In order to get more modern versions of cells, other organic molecules had to have existed as well. Lipids are needed for membranes as well as carbohydrates and proteins for the cytoplasm, which is the fluid in the cell. Interestingly enough, fatty acids that make up lipids and even the ones needed for cell membranes have also been found on meteorites. Sure, they could have possibly been created on early Earth through the electricity raining down on the sky if the atmospheric conditions were right, but it is also plausible that they came from meteorites. The fatty acids that were found on meteorites were carbon chains up to 12 carbons in length. Fatty acids with only 8 carbons are required to make a membrane, and modern cell membranes have a carbon chain length of 12 to 20 carbons in length. This, with a combination of multiple self-replicating RNA working in conjunction and being able to show Darwinian evolution, very well could be the start of life. There is a chance we may never truly know exactly how it happened. As more tests and studies are done to uncover how life formed, this could tell us the likelihood of it repeating, potentially on other planets. The fact there are so many theories and studies and opinions revolving around how life started shows how much we really don't know. Did our origins come from outer space, hitching a ride on meteorites and comets? Were we popped into existence because of hydrothermal vents with the right conditions and minerals underwater occurred? Did a lightning strike in what used to be an unlivable atmosphere for most life start the basis of life? It's not yet understood and perhaps will never be. The true answer could be a mixture of every one of these processes mentioned, or possibly none of them. Experiments, like those mentioned in today's video, advance our understanding of the underlying mechanisms that drive life rather than the supporting one true answer. I only presented a surface level amount of studies and research that has gone into this and only really on the point of one world theory. There are so many possibilities of what could have happened. If you wish to know more about the other possibilities, like, subscribe, and comment about which of the theories you want me to explore next. Thank you for watching the video and hope to see you again. Have a great day.